Hello and welcome to Sports Fan Entertainment. Here to discuss some recent, tiddling, some recent rumors and recent things surrounding the Tennessee Titans. This video will mainly be about Hendon Hooker, my impression of him and how he relates to the team. But I hadn't made a video for a week, and to be honest with you, there's not much news that's really been coming out, so I didn't want to grasp for straws and just talk about, random sentences by Rand Carthon saying that, oh yeah, no, we're great with Derrick Henry and Kevin Byard, no worries. I didn't feel like talking about that. I didn't feel like talking about more unsubstantiated rumors about Lamar Jackson. There's literally nothing there of any substance whatsoever, and I'm already done speculating about that. Until there's anything really substantive on that, I'm really not going to discuss it at much length at all. But I recently went through all the quarterbacks at length, and I was very impressed with Hendon Hooker, and I really wanted to have a video in which we could really and seriously discuss the possibility of the Tennessee Titans potentially taking Hendon Hooker, and I would prefer it if it was with their 31st pick, their pick scheduled to have in the second round, but even the potential of them having to maybe even move up to the end of the first round to take Hooker, because it's very possible that that would be maybe even necessary. At the very least, they might have to at least pass the Raiders in the second round if the Raiders do not select a quarterback themselves in the first round. I'm still expecting for them to at least take Will Levis. I'm still expecting that. So right now I'm projecting, I think and people are on this wave, it's not just me, that Stroud is going to go one, Young is going to go 2, Richardson 4, and then we'll see about 5. I think the Seahawks wouldn't reach for Levis at 5. I feel like they'd have no problem taking Anthony Richardson, but I think at 5, I think they would just pass on Will Levis, letting the Raiders take Will Levis at 7, which means that we're going to have another discussion pretty soon about whether or not I like the possibility of that Will Levis at number 11, because it's looking like more and more that's going to be a real possibility, and not only a possibility, but something that you really need to start thinking about, and depending on how you feel about Will Levis, either really fearing, or if you're excited about him, something you really should be excited about. Because if you ask me right now, I feel like the Raiders still have to take Levis, even though they signed Garoppolo to this contract. I think just knowing that, first of all, Garoppolo, he gets hurt all the time. I don't know why he's their long-term option. It makes no sense. It's so ridiculous. To the point where even though they might express confidence in him, if Levis is there, they have to consider taking him. And Levis himself, you could argue, is a project, and you could sit up behind Jimmy Garoppolo for a year or two. I mean, Garoppolo, how old is he now? Well, he was drafted 2014. So at this point, I mean, he's not old, but what is he? Let's see if he's 30 at this point. But I mean, with the age that this guy's had, they have to be thinking a little bit more long term than that. He's 31, going to be 32 in November. So you have to consider Levis, and I think they will. But I think it's 50-50, and assuming he passes them, I think he'd make it to us, and then I don't see any other teams as of this moment that would even want to trade up in front of us for Levis. So I think he'd literally just be sitting there, and if we don't take him, I don't think he'd be taken again until probably the Bucks at 19. And if they don't take him, maybe then the Seahawks again at 20. If they don't take it, maybe again the Vikings at 23. So things will get interesting. But this is really the inflection point for him. If he passes our pick at number 11, that's where he's going to continue to fall. But we'll talk about that later when we talk about Will Levis. Hendon Hooker. So this is the former Virginia Tech, what are they, the Hokies? And who transferred to the University of Tennessee Volunteer. And look, I watched him throughout the season, and I'm a Commodore fan, and I'm not a huge college football fan, by the way, but I'm a Commodore fan if anything. But I always watched. I mean, Tennessee was great this year, so they were on all the time, and I knew that I liked him. And I knew that time and time again, he made plays. He was able to stand out. He was able to be consistent. He was able to impress. The two things that are the big red flags that he tore his ACL in November, and that for an NFL draft quarterback, he's old. In fact, he's almost my age, which makes me feel old because I'm 26 and I'm still very young. And everybody wants to talk about how old this guy is. I'm like, wait a minute, I'm 26. I'm not that old, am I? And I'm like, well, wait a minute, for NFL draft standards, I'd be really old. So Yeah, he's 25 going on 26. His birthday, let's see when his birthday is. His birthday uh is it even listed here? Oh, January 13th. Oh, so he just turned 25. So he'll be 25 throughout his entire rookie campaign. But I mean, since he won't play for much of his rookie campaign, you really won't see much of his initial action until he's 26. So this is, it's not a big red flag to me because while, yes, and I love the fact that CJ Stroud and Bryce Young are so young at 21. The babies. While that's true, Hendon Hooker still almost outplayed both of them this year. In fact, I could argue that he did, before his injury. Now, what you can argue is that, they still have more athletic potential over the upcoming 5 years, so there's more upside. Sure. But because Hendon Hooker, he was a transfer and he sat out a year or something like that, because he wasn't on the field often, but when he was on the field, he actually impressed. I'm not going to hold the age too much against him here. It's not great, but it's not the worst thing in the world. It's just when you're looking at the bright 21-year-olds and Young and Stroud, those are appealing. You can really mold them for years upon years, whereas Hooker, you need him. By the time you get to his second contract, if you draft him in the first round, he's going to be going on 31. So that would be a situation. But if things go well, who cares, right? If things go well, he'll play for a decade anyway. You don't need him for 20. You'd love to have him for 20. But if you get him for 10, that's a great 10. Well, who cares? So I think you're kind of nitpicking there. And the ACL, though, coming off the ACL in November, sucks because he essentially is going to be very limited, if any, training camp at all, and you just can't plan to start him week 1. So because of that, there's no way any of these teams are going to take him in the top 5 or top 10 because they need starters week 1, except for maybe the Seahawks, but they would just take their chances that he's going to fall to at least 20, and he definitely will. But make no doubt about it, the ACL is a big deal here because these teams need quarterbacks now, okay? If they really, if there was a world where Stroud or Young tore the ACLs, would they still go top 5? Well, because they were really highly anticipated coming into this year, I'd say yes. Richardson or Levis, I'd say no. The only reason they're going over Hooker is because they're healthy, and Richardson because right now he's doing really incredible things athletically. Now, I do have Richardson as my quarterback 3, Hooker as my quarterback 4, Levis as my quarterback 5. The reason for this is because Richardson is just such an athletic, crazy specimen. And while he definitely was bad at times for UF, I can see the potential there. And I specifically see the potential in terms of I'd liken him to Cam Newton in this way, to Lamar Jackson in this way, to where I don't know what their shelf life is going to be, but whenever he's on the field, I think he's about to do some crazy things. Again, I don't know how long it's going to last, but he's such an athletic talent to where he's going to light the world on fire for a little bit. Even Vince Young, for a stretch there, hell, did he not do great things for us with his legs athletically? Did it last? Nope. Would it last for really good seasons? Maybe. Well, were they even good? No, they were good. They weren't great, but they were good. So it would Vince Young last from 2006 to 2010. But, of that, let's only count 6, 7, part of 8, when you really can't even count 8. 9, and even 9 was only half. And then 10 was half, but half of it was, and that half was, really half of that half was a disaster. So you're kind of adding up to like 3 great years of Vince Young, or even good years of Vince Young. That's what I'm projecting similar with Andy Richardson. I think it'd be fun. I think it'd be a lot of fun. And I think it'd be impactful, but I think it wouldn't last. Hendon Hooker. Now this could last. The lower upside here is what is scaring people off. But time and time and time again, he sat in that pocket. He made throws. He, made throws with anticipation, accuracy, timing. He knows how to read the field. He's mature. He's ready to go outside of the ACL. It really impressed me on tape. In terms of, he's right there with Stroud and Young in terms of reading and processing the field to me. The only difference is Young is much more of an off-script guy, which is why I think I have to give him the edge, because whenever things break down, if our offensive line has problems, etc., Young can still make plays. Hooker had to do that a little bit, much less than Bryce Young. Much less than Bryce Young. Stroud, similar to Hooker in that he didn't have to do it often, but Stroud is, again, he's a highly touted, born and bred quarterback coming out of high school. This is like much more the prototypical guy that you would trust a little bit more than Hooker, who didn't quite find his footing at Virginia Tech, but then really found it at University of Tennessee. And the one thing that you do kind of have to hold against Hooker to a certain extent is, yes, the Tennessee offense was truly great. And Josh Heupel and the things that they're doing and the offense they were running, a lot of it was due to that. Now, how much, I don't know. I'm not going to go as far as some people would to say that it's mostly the reason why Hooker found success was Josh Heupel in this system. I don't think so. Is it the system that we're going to run? I don't think so either. So we're going to run concepts from it, but I don't know if it's the offense that we're going to particularly look to run. I don't know that yet. But in terms of a lot of the three-step drops that he had to do at UT, I don't know if he would do similar things here. We do still a lot of play action and a lot of stuff like that. I didn't see much. He didn't have to do that. He just in the gun and then some fake handouts and some RPOs and stuff like that. But it was a lot of three-step drops and he would hit it on time, boy. And he had the best deep ball of all of these quarterbacks. Unfortunately, we don't have deep threats, but he still had the best deep ball of all of these quarterbacks with Jalen Hyatt as his tandem. So there are a lot of things to like about Hooker, and I really liken him to a Dak Prescott or Kirk Cousins level quarterback. Now, for some of you, that's not going to excite you very much. But the fact of the matter is, Dak Prescott will likely, he hasn't yet, but he's been starting now for over 7 seasons or 6, and he probably will start for over a decade. Kirk Cousins has almost now been starting for a decade. There's a reason why they haven't gone anywhere. There's a reason why they've made Pro Bowls. It's hard to find quarterbacks like that. It's just difficult to find. We wish we've had a quarterback like that. We haven't had. Tannehill's touched that, actually, but yeah. And when Tannehill was doing well for us, did you not enjoy it? Were you not enjoying when Tannehill was actually throwing 33 touchdowns and 7 interceptions? And yeah, some of the national media didn't give him the respect, but at least we were winning games and we were having fun and we were being competitive. I feel like that's what Hendon Hooker is going to be. I don't think he's going to end up being a Joe Burrow. I don't think he's going to end up being a Patrick Mahomes. I don't think he's going to be one of the top 5 guys. But if he's top 10-ish, well, boom, you have a quarterback for a decade. And then unlike what the Vikings have done with Kirk Cousins, unlike what the Cowboys have done consistently with Dak, surround them with a little bit more. And then Hooker, though, has shown more clutch gene than I think Dak Prescott has shown. And Kirk Cousins has shown, especially Cousins. So I think Hooker would then supply you with the clutch aspect that those other quarterbacks haven't, which then intrigues me to believe that he might actually be different in terms of he actually might be the guy to get you over the top. So that would be the possibility that I'd look at very heavily. So I liked the tape, man. I liked a lot of what I saw. He's my definitive quarterback for it. So while Will Levis can, throw the rock around in his pro day and do all these crazy things at his pro day, it's fine. Good for you, Will Levis. I liked Hooker more on tape. And I have a second round draft pick on both, second round grade on both of them. I'd much rather have Hooker in the second. Again, we're going to discuss Will Levis more. Probably next week, I'm going to have to make a video for that and discuss Levis because, again, I think that is becoming a real possibility, and we were in attendance. But Hooker is someone that intrigues me. The positioning here is going to be interesting in terms of the other teams that are going to be interested in him. But I like Hendon Hooker, and for all the hell that I gave Joshua Dobbs and some of you UT fans, I was having fun with you guys. I don't care if we have a UT quarterback. Just please not Joshua Dobbs. Joshua Dobbs has never impressed me, whereas your boy Hendon Hooker has. So I'm all aboard the Hooker trade potentially because, again, I just want answers. I still don't have answers. What are we going to do at the quarterback position? We still don't have any answers, and it's getting ridiculous. And a report just came out. This was actually a podcast between Daniel Jeremiah and Bucky Brooks of NFL.com. They're hearing, or I can't remember which one said it. I think it might have been Jeremiah. It could have been Brooks. I read this transcript, but one of them said that they're hearing that 2 teams to look out for to potentially move up to number 3 would be the Titans and the Raiders. And we'll see on that. My only problem with that is if you do that, it's for Richardson or Levis most likely. And I'm not down for that because even though, yeah, like I said, Richardson is going to be fun. It's going to be fun. I'm not giving up multiple first-round picks. I don't even want to give up one. I don't even want to give up the 11th pick overall for him. So why am I going to trade the 11th overall pick, next year's pick, a second-round pick for Anthony Richardson? I don't know if he's worth 11. Is he worth 11? Are we sure about that? So if that's true, you better only call whenever whenever, either the Texans or the Panthers F up and take Richardson, then you make the call. Until then, don't make the call. If do not do it now. Do not, unless if you know for a fact, and you probably don't. If you trade up for Richardson or Levis, you're crazy. You're crazy to me. Even though I really don't want to move forward with Tannehill, do not do that. That's just desperate. Just stick at 11 and get your stupid left tackle or wide receiver and call it a day. Okay? So those are my thoughts on that. And we'll see if any more. That's the most legitimate thing that I've heard really lately. And I believe them. I feel like they're tuned in. Also, though, I think that's also just pegging. Like, I think it's pretty obvious to just sit there and peg for the Titans or the Raiders to want to move up because you literally just have to look at the draft order and the only teams that would look to move up would be us. So I also don't love rumors like that because it's like, okay, yeah, I'm sure that's what you heard, but I could have told you that. In fact, I've been telling you that because it's been obvious because just look at the draft order. So I don't even know if that's real speculation or real rumors. I think that's just people looking at the draft order. I don't know, but we'll see. It makes sense. So I don't know. Outside of that, were there any other real definitive thing? I mean, it's been a quiet week in Titans country. No more rumors about Kevin Byard and stuff. And look, I could come on here every day and just try to get some content as much as possible, but I'm not going to sit here and talk about things when there's really nothing to talk about. And to be honest, guys, there's not really nothing to talk about. So my next video will be a Titans mock draft because there's something to talk about there as we continue to look at these prospects. Darnell Wright, the offensive tackle out of Tennessee, people are now saying that he might go in the first round. People are thinking he might be the best tackle, that we should take him with the 11th pick. Okay, you guys are going a little crazy there, but we'll see if those rumors continue to substantiate themselves. So until next time, this has been MJ of Sports Fan Entertainment, and I'm out. See you all later.